You know, it's really sad to see what has happened to the game industry. Yeah, it's grown into something that probably no one ever thought it would have decades ago. We have all sorts of consoles and handheld devices. We have all sorts of games. We have single player games. We have multiplayer games that allow us to play with people all over the world. Video game graphics are unbelievable today. We have thousands of games across many different genres right at our fingertips. And this sounds great, right? It sure does. But let me sour it for you now. In order to have fun today with games, you must open up your wallet constantly. Do you want that cool skin for your character or that cool gun camo? Well, feel free to hand over your credit card information and purchase it straight from the microtransaction store. Or hey, feel free to spend money on that battle pass and then spend hours grinding it to make sure you unlock everything that comes with it. You want to play a cool Star Wars game where you play as Darth Vader mowing down rebel scum? Great, just be prepared to play for hundreds of hours just so you can unlock him and other characters. You want to play Warzone with that perfect assault rifle you just crafted in Gunsmith? Alright, go for it, but be careful, your teammates are dressed up as the Easter Bunny and other animated characters that can be easily spotted miles away. Are you thinking about going to school to become a video game developer? Cool, but just a heads up, EA expects you to create a multiplayer game that brings 100 million players to it. It's the only way the game succeeds in their minds. But there should be a lot of job openings out there, right? Since 2021, at least 37,548 people have been laid off in the industry, and don't worry about all those studios closing, Xbox has everything under control. You might be catching on to the point I'm trying to make here. We might have the prettiest looking games and the smoothest controls in the history of gaming, but the industry itself is in a lot of trouble, and it's due to the corporate greed that is plaguing the industry. At this point, corporate greed has almost completely destroyed the fun factor in gaming, and it really sucks. So in today's video, I'm going to rant while I discuss the current state of the game industry. So I want to kick this video off by giving my sympathies to those working in the game industry right now. It's truly a scary time for them. You would think it would be a dream scenario to work for Xbox, right? But as I just mentioned, over 37,000 people have been laid off since 2021. And I truly feel bad for these people because they were punished for the failures of companies like Xbox and Sony. These companies make so much money and they own studios that produce cash cow franchises like Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefield, yet they have no money to pay their employees. Microsoft flexed their money muscles just a few years ago when they purchased a bunch of studios like Activision and Bethesda. And then you had Sony making a big move too when they acquired Bungie, and yet they have no money to pay the people who work at these studios. And it gets much worse. Studios aren't just downsizing, we are seeing them close completely. The cuts at Xbox have been brutal for the past year specifically. They have cut thousands of jobs across studios like ZeniMax, Activision Blizzard, King, and Raven Software. We have seen jobs get destroyed, games get canceled, and studios close. And it's all because of corporate bullshit. Phil Spencer has come out saying that it's all due to Xbox trying to reduce management layers and concentrating on certain things like AI, the cloud, Game Pass, and their marquee franchises. Microsoft, like many other companies, is shifting heavily towards AI. They are pushing for automation so human roles become less vital thanks to tech becoming more capable to handle those responsibilities. We are currently living in an era that I have named the Great AI Scare because companies would rather have AI make half-ass slop content. Companies are willing to destroy people's lives to protect their bottom line. Yes, I know AI is a great tool, but it's not perfect, and it's actually really embarrassing and funny to see these companies use it without checking it. Remember the controversy surrounding Black Ops 6? AI art was being generated and it came up with hilarious results like the zombie with 6 fingers, and then there's AI voice actors supposedly replacing the actual voice actors for well-known characters in the franchise. Gamers are even noticing AI being used across games for quest and dialogue creation. The corporate mindset in this industry is all about money. There's no focus on fun. These companies have ridiculous expectations. As mentioned before, it came out months ago that EA supposedly expects Battlefield to have 100 million players. Like, come on and get real already. There's a ton of games out there and new games are coming out each month of each year, and there's always going to be some competition with a big juggernaut like Call of Duty. So what is EA going to do? Shut down DICE if they don't reach 100 million players? Hey, how about you just focus on making Battlefield 6 the best Battlefield game we've had in like, what, 10 years? Every year, publishers like EA, Embracer, and Activision Blizzard rake in record profits, and yet it's never enough. The expectations are always lifted to an unrealistic height. I become a very cranky gamer over time because I have hit live service fatigue, and I'm honestly just fed up with the monetization of this industry across all kinds of games. It doesn't matter if it's a single player game or a multiplayer game, there's always extra costs everywhere in a game. I think many players have become exhausted at this point. We want quality gameplay in games like Call of Duty and Battlefield. I remember back in the day, the way you earned gun camos was simple. You just needed a certain amount of kills or headshots. It was not such a chore to gain XP and level up. Challenges used to be simple. Like literally, it was win a certain amount of matches in a game mode, get so many kills with assault rifles, plant the bomb X amount of times. Nowadays, you have to go prone while capturing a point in domination and get X amount of kills to complete that challenge. But in order to earn and unlock the cool camos and skins, well, you gotta buy the battle pass first and then play 10, 20, 30 hours a week to grind out everything and make sure you actually have access to the content. Rewards for just flat out playing and doing simple things no longer exist. Then you got this crypto bro movement going on, and game companies are being sucked right into that mindset too. Some publishers are even looking into NFT games. Those games feature tokenized skin and ownership models for other items, that just different kind of items in games, skins, cosmetics, things like that. And these items would be yours to use across different games. How many gamers out there really give a shit about owning a helmet that you could use in 3 or 4 different games? Who's really asking for this? Now comes the part where I go after Ubisoft. For a variety of reasons, Ubisoft has been under fire now for a while. They have made bad games of late, and they're doing and saying a lot of controversial shit. They have been doing a lot of copy and paste with their biggest franchises, and then there's their CEO, Yves Guillemot, who has been saying some stupid shit that has pissed off gamers, including myself. According to Yves, microtransactions make games more fun because players can personalize their avatars or progress more quickly. Hey Yves, we usually call them characters, and it's actually fun to play through a game's quests and story and unlock stuff while playing the game. We have fun exploring the world and finding the cool loot, defeating the tough boss to get the cool loot. I don't find it fun spending $70 or $80 for a video game today and then having to spend even more money to make the game more fun. It's ridiculous that the best armor and weapons you can get in a game like Assassin's Creed or Far Cry come from microtransactions, and then they promote this shit constantly all throughout the menus. Then the skins get out of control and make the game feel less serious because the armor doesn't fit the theme of the game. Lastly, isn't the point of playing a game to actually play it and try to win it? Well, Ubisoft thinks it's more fun to spend money to level up and progress quicker. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example, they were selling XP boosts. XP boosts in a single-player open-world game where you already have tons of opportunities to level up and find new gear? What is with that? But hey, they loved it because they earned over $1 billion from that offering. And you know what? I better not hear a damn word from Ubisoft about downsizing the company after this, because they definitely have the money to pay the people after that one. So now I have a couple of points to make about Star Wars Outlaws. Yves made some comments about that game that ticked me off again. I played Outlaws and it was a massive disappointment. The idea of the game was great, however, there were many gameplay issues. It was a bland open world despite having different planets, space stations, space battles, and ultimately the story fell flat. Star Wars Outlaws was a financial failure for Ubisoft, and they reported big losses in its recent financial report because of it. Well, Yves pointed the blame elsewhere. Yves admitted the game didn't reach their sales targets. As to why, Yves explained it this way. The game suffered from a number of items. First, it suffered from the fact that it was released at a time when the brand that it belonged to, was in a bit of choppy waters, and the game had a few items that still needed to be polished, and they were polished and debugged in the early weeks, but it did not affect sales volumes. Okay, let's break this down for a minute. First off, blaming the company that allowed you the right to make this game is crazy. Yes, we all know things aren't great with Disney Star Wars, but you guys wanted to make this game. You wanted to make a Star Wars game, Yves. Why is that? Probably because of money. It's an IP that you could cash in on, and you should have cashed in on, but you guys failed to make a good game. So in other words, according to him, the financial failure of this game lies in the hands of Disney and the gamers because we didn't want to play it, and because Disney has a bad track record right now. So all the people who didn't make this mid-game are at fault. That's bullshit, man. Now let's look at the other part of his response. I am so sick and fucking tired of developers and publishers finishing their games weeks, months, and years after the launch. And that's where I catch him in a lie too. It didn't take just weeks to patch and debug the game. They fixed things literally months after. It took more than 2 or 3 weeks. So he's bullshitting us in this quote too. And it's one thing to fix issues, but when you literally have to rework your gameplay for a game to function better and be more enjoyable, well, you automatically lost. Ubisoft made drastic changes to the gameplay of Outlaws because the stealth gameplay was so trash. I played this game at launch, literally day one, or week one at least, maybe not right on that first day, but I got it right away. And I really do despise the fact that so many games are completed or fixed months after launch when I have already beaten the damn game. Same with Cyberpunk 2077. Look, I love CD Projekt Red. They created my favorite game of all time, The Witcher 3, but Cyberpunk was a colossal failure. I also played that game at launch too, and it was the worst launch experience I have ever seen in my 20 plus years of gaming. And I'll give them a little credit for not abandoning the game. They stuck with it, they made the DLC, they reworked a lot of systems, they added things, they fixed things. Ultimately, it still doesn't live up to what they promised, years ago when they were teasing the game and making the game. But the fact that they won the Best Ongoing Game Award back in 2023 is also wild. The game is 5 years old now, and even at the time when it was 3 years old, and it's still being perfected. The only reason why, in my opinion, that I think they won this award is because that same year they released their big DLC story expansion. And again, my opinion, that was a timely convenience to help them win that. The DLC was priced at $30 at launch, and it wasn't released on the PS4 and the Xbox One. Well, damn, I played this on the Xbox One and suffered through all of that bullshit on day one. Wow, that's a slap in the face. And charging $30 when this should have been offered for much cheaper to those of us that were screwed on day one, that's another slap in the face. Star Wars Outlaws wasn't the first game related to the IP that was doused in controversy. Corporate greed also ruined the modern Star Wars Battlefront games made by DICE. EA dropped the ball big time. Their first Battlefront game was alright, but the fact that it just featured content from the Galactic Civil War, just the Rebels and the Empire, that was a massive disappointment. There are multiple eras in Star Wars with different battles, planets, armies, stories, soldier types, and vehicles, yet they picked one era? Things got even worse back in 2017 with the second game because, you remember that dreadful era of loot boxes? Well, they caused drama in Battlefront 2. Originally, the game was designed for you to unlock the heroes and villains by purchasing them with currency. It was estimated that it would take roughly 40 hours of gameplay to unlock Darth Vader and other characters. This was due to the game offering low amounts of credits earned per match, while the cost to unlock these characters was super high. Someone created a Reddit thread and was talking about this and complaining about it, and many gamers joined in, and a lot of conversation was going back and forth. Well, then an EA spokesperson made a comment on the thread and said this: "The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course, attainable via gameplay." Hey, what if you just let me play as all the cool fucking characters from the Star Wars universe? Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Count Dooku, Anakin Skywalker, hey, Luke Skywalker. Hey, can I just play the fucking game with all the cool characters? What are we trying to make this, esports or something where we're grinding out a Star Wars game, a Star Wars Battlefront game? Well, hey, that comment went on to become the most disliked comment in Reddit's history with over 675,000 downvotes. EA then proceeded to reduce the prices for all hero characters by 75%. Great job to all the gamers out there that made sure their frustrations were heard on this one. This is a rare W for the gaming community in this ongoing war against corporate greed. And I find this to be more comical than frustrating because EA dropped the ball big time, just like Disney has done with the Star Wars movies and shows. Star Wars content should be easy to make. The Battlefront formula was already proven thanks to the original games that came out in the early 2000s. Everyone wanted to play in the biggest battles in the Star Wars universe, and they wanted to play as their favorite characters. Just follow the same damn formula as before. Let us enjoy the game with all the characters. You want to sell skins? Fine, but don't hide characters behind a paywall. Battlefront 2's content still left more to be desired. They stopped making content for the game after Episode 9. They made this announcement right around the time the final season of Clone Wars came out. And honestly, the amount of characters, soldiers, vehicles, planets that were still missing from this game was very disappointing. I don't know, man. I think making a successful Battlefront game is super easy. Just use common sense. I have to give games like Call of Duty 4 and World at War credit for getting me into multiplayer gaming. Man, were those the glory days back then when the Modern Warfare and Black Ops trilogies were the main thing out there. We used to have regular progression systems to level up with and to unlock, guns, gear, and perks. We would prestige and do it over and over and over again. Call of Duty used to take itself seriously. It used to focus on the grittiness of war. World at War was and still is my favorite COD. COD used to pride itself on making good campaigns and implementing the maps, the characters, the guns, and the themes into its multiplayer. They used to be great at it. We had the earliest form of live service 2 back then. Each COD would come out with 4 map packs later on, the months leading up after the game was released. We'd get new maps for multiplayer, we'd get a new zombies map, and those packs would cost $20 each. If you think about it, it wasn't cheap. But people loved those games so much that they were willing to spend the extra money, and it was actually worth it. These weren't cookie cutter maps, and the zombie maps would always be unique and add new gameplay and lore elements. COD never lacked innovation back then. Now it's all about recycled maps and reused assets. I remember watching the little videos the developers would come out with explaining why and how they made the maps the way they did, and it was just awesome to see because back then it seemed like the developers were able to have the freedom to create and innovate and come up with ideas and it not just be, all the content we make has to go behind a paywall and we got to sell this skin for this amount of money and we got to bundle these things together and sell it for $20. No, you made the map, here's the price, we'll give you a collection of maps for $20. It was freaking simple back then. And seriously, Call of Duty used to lead in innovation when it came to multiplayer shooters. Nobody besides Battlefield ever came close to them. But nowadays, the company is just a live service cosmetic machine with a money counter attached to it. COD today is all about battle passes and the $20 bundles that come with skins, tracer rounds, and other outrageous shit. What frustrates me the most about modern COD is that they actually have come up with some really cool things recently. They created Warzone and DMZ. The gunsmith feature is my favorite thing that they've added in a long time. You could create any weapon to fit any need or strategy you want to run with in a game of search, in a game of domination, or if you're running into DMZ or Warzone by yourself or with buddies. But the gunsmith feature and these new modes, they don't matter because the microtransaction bullshit. Warzone is a battle royale. Battle royale is about surviving alone or with your squad in a large map. Well, it's kind of hard to move around quietly when you're walking around with Beavis and Butthead as your teammates. They're super noticeable. Oh, and it's kind of hard to pick off enemies without them knowing your location when everyone on the squad is firing rainbow tracer rounds. Half of the attachments in the game are pointless because what's the point of using a silencer or putting on a long-range scope on your gun when every map is small and it's all close quarters combat? It's just a waste. It's a waste of time. It's not needed, even though that stuff is really cool. I get COD isn't a tactical shooter like Ready or Not, but what is the point of adding new features and modes when the game has shifted from a military shooter to an over-the-top Fortnite-esque game? Now, I'm recording this video around the time of the Battlefield 6 beta. Look, I truly hope Battlefield 6 turns out to be good. We haven't had a good Battlefield game since Battlefield 1 in my opinion, and someone needs to make Activision go back to the fucking drawing board and actually take a look at what players want from future COD titles. Can somebody please make a multiplayer shooter that focuses on military themes? I don't want to be Snoop Dogg, I don't want to get killed by Nicki Minaj, and I don't want to feel like I'm playing a Star Wars game because I see red, blue, and green tracers flying around the map. If the corporate overlords are wondering why their games are failing and why they are receiving so much flack, all they need to do is go back in time and look at the original winning formula for these games, for games like Battlefield, Battlefront, and COD, even Halo. They can still make good games and even sell their bullshit microtransactions because, well, let's face it, they're never going away at this point. But please, for the love of God, design a fun video game for once. If you design a fun game that everyone buys, then people will stick around and play it for hours upon hours, just like we used to do back in the day. And if they really like your game, they'll drop a few extra bucks here and there on stuff that they want from the battle passes or whatever you offer in the store. The gaming overlords need to remember this. They need to reward us, the players, for playing their games and for sticking with them for months and years because there's new games coming out every month. We are the reason why their games stay relevant, and if they can't figure that out, well then maybe it's time for people like Yves Guillemot and Phil Spencer to get laid off themselves and get some other people in there that actually have a clue. If you are still here, thanks very much for checking out the video. I really do appreciate it. I'm just tired of the industry the way it is today. I just want to have fun with games, and I feel like I'm constantly being pestered about having to buy shit, and I'm just getting tired. I just want to play a game and earn things like we used to back in the day. The corporate greed and arrogance has really tarnished the industry, and I'm just tired of it. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Like and subscribe for more. I would greatly appreciate any support you could give. Thanks again, and take care.